So today we're going to talk about English spelling and pronunciation. If you still haven't got the theory behind English spelling right, you're probably struggling with it. Even native speakers have a hard time pronouncing unfamiliar words, and we're going to understand why. Try to read these Portuguese words. You can pause the video and use a little bit over these words and try to pronounce them. Now, how was it? If you can read Portuguese, you probably read these correctly. Even though I'm pretty sure you don't know what they mean, unless you're some kind of genius, right? That happens because except for a few letters like C and S and Z and X and G and J, Portuguese is a phonetic spelling system. So if you really know how to read Portuguese, there are no words that can pose like a real challenge for you. If you know, in other words, if you know Portuguese, you can read all words in Portuguese, even if you don't know their meanings. Now, English words, right? Can you pronounce those words? Now, pause the video again for a couple of seconds and try to pronounce those words. So you probably, analyzing those words, you probably know what they mean, but it's not really, maybe you had trouble pronouncing them, depending on your level of English. But comparing with Portuguese, it's pretty easy to understand, right? Domicile, preface, administrative are very similar to their Portuguese counterparts. Domicílio, prefácio, administrativo. But they're hard to pronounce, but they're easy to recognize. So that's the point of this, right? And that happens because English has a spelling system that's not phonetic, right? It takes into account the origins and history of words, not only their sounds. So if a word comes from French, if you compare that word to French, you're going to see that it's pretty similar to French. If that word comes from a native American language, you can compare those words and you can see that they're very, very similar. The borrowed English words are very similar to their original languages. So the result of that is that even though you might have a good chance of getting words pronunciation right, even if you speak good English, like even if you are a native speaker, it is impossible to know for sure how to pronounce all words without consulting their pronunciation in a dictionary. So unlike Portuguese, in which if you really know the language, you can pronounce all words even if you don't know their meaning, in English, you have to take into account the meaning of a word before, the origin of a word before trying to pronounce it. And even then, it's impossible to know all the pronunciations of all the pronunciation of all words that exist. It's impossible. No one can do that. It's like knowing the meaning of all words. It's impossible. So that's why English dictionaries have, unlike Portuguese or Spanish or Italian dictionaries, always have or almost always have a phonetic transcription, right? Because even native speakers, even if they're monolingual, they will have a phonetic transcription of lemmas, because there's no way of knowing the pronunciation of an unfamiliar word without checking it out first. So, but how do I become able to do that? How do I become independent? So, First, one of the ways you can do that is you can consult paper dictionaries, additional dictionaries, and on the left side of the on the right side of a lemma, normally have a phonetic transcription of a word. So that indicates the sound of the word. That's 100% effective. If you know the transcription methods, the phonetic transcription methods, you know how to pronounce those words without having to listen to those words being spoken by someone else or on a website on the internet, right? So for example, here we have this kind of transcription, which is more simple. It uses Latin. This first one is more intuitive. It uses normal Latin characters to represent sound. And the more important elements here are the apostrophe, that they don't happen here because those are monosyllabic words, but normally we would have an apostrophe here to show where the stress of the syllable goes. And these accents, which indicate if the vowel is long or short. Right? So in this case, dime is long, so you have this symbol here. Fit is short, so you have this brachia, it's called. The other system is the phonetic, international phonetic alphabet, right? The international phonetic alphabet is a little more complicated. It uses a special alphabet to represent sounds universally in all languages. So if you really, it takes a long time, of course, because there are lots of sounds. But if you really know, if you have a good vocabulary, let's say, of sounds, you can pronounce theoretically all languages just by knowing those without having to listen to them, just by knowing how to, just by memorizing the international alphabet. So in this case here, you have these characters. It's not really obvious from this example I chose, but the characters are not necessarily the same as Latin alphabet. It's the same characters in the Latin alphabet. So dime is like this. Of course, in English you use a limited set of sounds, so you should not memorize all of them. Like D, T, B, and P are the same as in Portuguese, so you don't need to memorize them. You should focus on the ones that pose more problems for us, such as the sounds of the vowels, where the stress goes. That's an important point in English, like we saw in the first examples, domicile, administrative, etc. That's not very easy to know. So you should focus on the more important elements. If you really want to know the phonetic methods of transcription, you should focus on the more important parts of those methods, right? Now, online you have Google Translate, of course, everyone knows that. Word reference and the free dictionary. You can look it up on Google, and those websites show. You can click on the button, and they let you listen to the pronunciation of a word beside their definition or translation. It's pretty useful if you don't know the phonetic methods of transcription, right? Now let's do an exercise. All those words ending in this O, U, G, H combination. If you can pause the video and try to match the words on the left with the words on the right. The words on the left rhyme with the words on the right. You have to know which ones rhyme with the other. Okay? So pause the video, take a few minutes, and do that. Now this is the result, right? Bow rhymes with cow. Through rhymes with through. Although rhymes with go. Bought rhymes with cough. Cough rhymes with off. Hiccup, it's an old spelling, right? Nowadays you can write that with PP. Rhymes with cup. And enough rhymes with cuff. Okay, so that only goes to show how English can be tricky, right? How if you never saw those words before, it's impossible for you to know how they are pronounced. It's simply impossible. So you really need to check them out in the dictionary, right? Those words particularly that have this GH sound come from Old English. In Old English, they were pronounced as sound. So night would be like Nacht. through would be like through. Now modern English lost that sound. Right? So, but they kept the spelling. Right? Now, homophones and homographs. How do you pronounce these words? Take a few minutes to analyze that. The correct answer is that there is no correct answer. Both pronunciations are possible, but they have different meanings. So the word on the left, you can pronounce that. This word here, you can pronounce this as tear or tear, and this one is lead or lead. They have different meanings, of course, but you cannot tell only by their pronunciation that they're different. Right? You would really have to, if you're not familiar with those words, you really have to check them out on the dictionary. Now, those are homographs. Those are homographs. So they're words that have the same spelling, but two different pronunciations, like read, read, lead, led, tear, tear, right? And homophones are words that have different spelling but the same pronunciation, like heel, heel, flower, flower, road, road. So that only goes to show how complex English can be and how important it is to understand the very nature of its spelling and how different it is from Portuguese. Because some people think that just because they are fluent in Portuguese and they can read all words in Portuguese, they should be able to do the same in English. That's not true. You will never be able to read all words in English without checking a dictionary, right? That's impossible. Even native speakers have to do that. So whenever you're not sure, of course, you need to know the basic vowel combinations, etc. But that doesn't mean you're going to get everything right. So whenever you're not sure of how you pronounce a word, go and check it out in the dictionary. Don't have the feeling that you don't know English just because you're doing that. Right? And most of all, always listen to a lot of English and try to repeat what native speakers are saying. When you're watching a movie, try to repeat what they're saying, and that's it.